Howdy! Howdy! That's what we're talking about. You may not know this by these amazing shoes, but I'm a runner. I run 5 to 6 times a week, clocking at least 900 plus miles a year. I've run many races, and I can tell you from experience that there are many questions that runners ask at the start of every race. How am I going to pace myself? Is it going to rain today? Do I need to go to the bathroom again? There are also questions you don't ask. These are taboo questions. And when I say taboo questions, I don't mean they're just questions that are unconventional or unexpected. Taboo questions are dangerous questions. They challenge the whole system. And there are taboo questions that come to mind at the start of every race. What if I don't start? What if I turn around? What if I call an Uber? Have anyone thought of that? Now, one of the most taboo questions is the question about not finishing. It's the question you're supposed to never let ever cross your mind. I mean, why start a race if you can't finish? What are you going to tell your friends, your family, your husband, and your 2 boys waiting for you at the finish line in the Austin cold weather? You'll never hear the end of that one. So you try to push that question away. But no matter if it's a race or your life, it's actually crucial not to push these questions away. A question about why not redefines what the finish line means. You need to listen to it. You need to let yourself ask the question, why not? Why not is a taboo question, which is why it is so powerful. Why not breaks everything wide open. We all know incredibly successful people who have forged their own path, and their story usually starts with them challenging the status quo and asking, why not? It's a simple enough question, right? Why not? Yet it's not available for all of us in precisely the same way. Asking why not is a matter of choice, but it's also a privilege. For an immigrant like myself, asking why not was not a question that I was intentionally trying to avoid. I honestly felt that people like me aren't capable of asking this question. And it held me back for too long. We need to stop confining ourselves to the path that is laid out by others and start embracing this transformative power of asking the question, why not? When we ask this question, we empower ourselves to carve our own path and define success on our own terms. Let me tell you a story about my dad. He was one of the first people that taught me about the power of asking why not. I was born and raised in Civil War Lebanon, and in a very, very, very real way, I shouldn't be standing here today. It was a war zone, and for a child living in a war zone, the only good thing is that school gets canceled a lot. Now, I remember no running water, no electricity, the dark hallways, the sound of the bombs ringing in my ear, the walls of our apartment building shaking, and this anxious child, all I was thinking about is, yes, no math test today, yes! Now, you would all think that this could have been an indication for my parents that this child may have some issues, right? It's a whole new topic that I have a lot of content about that we'll talk at another time. But in all seriousness, it was in the bleakness of that time of fear that my dad found the courage to challenge the status quo and ask, why not? His why not was, why not leave our lives, everything we had, all that we knew, our culture, our language, our history, and move to America? He didn't just talk about it, he did it. He and Mom did it, packed all of us up and all of our lives, and at the age of 11, I found myself in a new world, at a start of a new race. Now, I'm not gonna lie, initially, this race was very, very hard. I had to navigate systems that were so foreign to me. And slang like, what's up, and go break a leg, utterly confused my little brain. I remember a kid in high school telling me to go break a leg. I was terrified, and then confused because I just signed up for a debate tournament and I didn't know it required breaking legs. And then there's hamburger, pizza, all in one line. Like, who does that? It's either a hamburger or a pizza, but you're telling me both? Whew, utter confusion. Still dealing with it 30 plus years later. Now, this transition, though, taught me an invaluable lesson about America. It is a race of its own kind. And I have to tell you, I figured it out, or at least I thought I did. Right after I got my undergraduate degree, I got my MBA and then my Ph.D., and then I moved into sales and consulting. Now, that was a different type of race. And I kinda realized that pretty quickly. Tougher and unforgiving, sales is a race where the stakes are high, where success is measured by your numbers, and where you can fail very easily, especially if you decide you're gonna go on your own and sell your own products. And that's what I did. Years later, I went on my own, and I'm gonna tell you, the first couple of years were an uphill. If you're a runner, you know what uphills are the toughest. That's when your body is cramping, your heart is racing really fast, you're running out of breath, everyone else is passing you and you're trying to act cool and you're like, hey, I'll catch up. But you're looking at the top of that hill and you're wondering if you will ever get there. Life is like that too. It is the uphills that test us. I remember working 18-hour days, having lots of sales conversations that weren't going anywhere. I was getting rejected day in and day out. It wasn't just like a marathon on a flat course. It was like a marathon made up of steep and relentless hills. You get to the top, another one is waiting. You solve one problem, another one pops up. But guess what? That's the reality of being an entrepreneur, of having a business. Despite the stories we hear of industry giants where their journey of evolution and innovation seems to lead to inevitably a glorious finish, the reality is much harder and much more complicated than what the world sees and what you see on social media. And it has a toll on entrepreneurs. A study by Dr. Michael Freeman and his colleagues published in the Small Business Economics found that mental health issues impacting 72% of the surveyed entrepreneurs directly or indirectly. These entrepreneurs reported having higher rate of depression, ADHD, bipolar disorder, and substance abuse compared to the control group. 32% of these entrepreneurs reported having 2 or more mental health conditions, and 18% of them reported having at least 3 or more mental health conditions. We celebrate entrepreneurial success, but rarely do we discuss the unseen mental health battles behind it. Why aren't we having these conversations? Why not? Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade, Aaron Swartz, Austin Hines, Faggy Mayer, Jody Sherman, and the list goes on. These are entrepreneurs who tragically lost their lives to mental health struggles, and none of us are immune to that struggle. I remember one night making dinner, and I reached into a 400-degree oven to take out a bowl with my bare hands. The sad thing about it is that it took me a few seconds to recognize what just happened. I was so stressed out, so preoccupied, so exhausted, that it took me hearing my own screams to put it together. We're surrounded by a culture that tells us to see failure through rose-colored glasses, to embrace it. Yes, I'm failing. We've all read articles and heard people say, fail fast, fail forward. Easy for them to say, right? Because when you're in the middle of it, when you're trying to admit that it's not working, whatever that is, it's not just hard, it's very hard. I saw it then. The race was killing me. I saw it the same way my dad did. But the strange thing about my experience was the question that my dad asked, why not, was so much harder for me to ask, despite having multiple degrees and many more opportunities living in this beautiful country than he ever had living in his. I see now that this is a much more overlooked aspect of our lives as immigrants, and that is the connection between assimilation and how it can stifle us from asking the question, why not? And then it dawned on me that my attempt to be this perfect immigrant, the straight-A student, the one that never broke the rule, the one that never rocked the boat, was actually silencing a vital part in my life. The part that wanted to ask the question, why not? And in a very weird way, that silence was propelling me to go so fast to get to that finish line. You see, as immigrants, our journey starts with this deep-seated urge to blend in, to assimilate into the new culture, to head as directly and quickly as possible for the new finish line. It's a survival mechanism, but one that becomes a habit, one that becomes an expectation, and even thinking about challenging the norm starts to feel off limits. This question is a privilege, but more importantly, it is a choice, a conscious decision to step beyond the boundaries of what is known and what is accepted. And it's terrifying, and it takes a lot of courage, especially when you've been told all your life that the goal is to assimilate. And yes, failure, whether it's big or small, fast or slow, it's still failure, and it makes you wonder, should you try at all? Can you do it? I remember feeling that way, and I told that to my dad. I said, Dad, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can succeed. My dad sat me down and looked me straight in the eye, and in a very, very firm voice, and I'm going to paraphrase because he said some colorful words in there that I can't repeat here, but he said, Rana, if anyone can, you can. Now, what my dad was doing was not just encouraging me. He's not this fluffy kind of guy. What my dad was doing was inviting me to challenge the status quo and carve my own path, to ask the question, why not, just like he did many, many years ago. A voice inside me began to stir and come to life. And slowly but surely, I started to find these little moments where I found that courage to ask the question, why not? Over the years, that voice got bolder and louder. And I saw that it is not about reaching a set finish line, but it is about mapping out my own race. That was transformational. Every time I got rejected, and I got rejected a lot, and I still get rejected, I asked the question, what did I learn from this? I learned to redefine this whole idea of the finish line so that short-term objectives, accountability, discipline, and consistency were more important. I learned how crucial it is to stay laser-focused on immediate tasks, not to compare myself to others, and to have someone to share this journey with, someone that can hold me accountable and cheer me on. And the hardest thing I had to learn is to reset my mindset and my attitude and my business and my career and realize that everything around us, look around us, this stadium, these chairs, this carpet, was thought of by someone, a human being like you and I, with fears, with emotions, with doubts, with career aspirations, before they created this beautiful thing. This opens up a lot of possibilities, where the only limits are those we impose on ourselves. And it starts with asking this question, why not? And understanding that all of us, no matter where we come from, we can absolutely ask it. Now, the questions for each one of us may be different, which is what I want to leave you with. What questions are you not asking? What would happen if you ask it? What version of your future might you unlock? Look, it's not just about reaching our objectives. It is about stepping off the map that you have been given. The story that you have been told or that you told yourself of what someone like you can and cannot do. The path to true success and freedom lies in asking this question, why not? So go ahead, ask it. Thank you.